Welcome, dear listener, to a peaceful journey through a strange chapter of history, a tale of pettiness, pride, and an utterly baffling cause for war. Tonight we travel to medieval Italy, a land rife with political intrigue, fierce rivalries, and the rise and fall of great cities. But at the heart of this particular conflict lies a story so absurd it almost defies belief. Imagine for a moment that you are living in 1325. Picture yourself on the dusty streets of Bologna, a city of intellectuals, merchants, and soldiers where the rhythm of life is far from slow, yet still bound by tradition and pride. But this is not the world of philosophers or artists. This is a time when the smallest of slights can ignite a fierce and bloody conflict. Now imagine yourself as a crossbowman. The air is thick with the sense of leather and the distant hum of daily life. Yet, today is different. The bells ring with urgency, and you, along with thousands of others, march toward the city of Modena, a neighboring rival. Why? Because some Modenese raiders have stolen a wooden bucket. Yes, a simple everyday object that once carried water for the people of Bologna. You don't know who took it, nor do you understand why it's come to this, but the command is clear. A war has been declared, and now you must take your place on the battlefield. The tension in the air is thick with the uncertainty of it all. You, a common soldier, are caught in a political storm, one that will unfold on the blood-stained fields of Zappolino. It's a strange world where your life is risked for the honor of something as trivial as a stolen bucket. As you settle in for the tale ahead, let the calm of this story lull you into a sense of peace. While this story is strange, it's also a reflection of human nature, the drive for pride and the absurdities that history often leaves behind. Now, let us begin our journey. The War of the Oaken Bucket. Why it was stupid to be a crossbowman for a bucket. It is the year 1325. You are a crossbowman in Bologna, an ancient city that takes great pride in its standing in the world. The cobblestone streets are familiar beneath your boots, and the scent of wood and leather fills your senses. Yet today is different. Today you are marching toward Modena, your rival city-state, with thousands of others. Your feet ache with each step, your leather armor stiff and uncomfortable against your skin. There is an unease in the air, one that you cannot quite shake. The reason for your journey seems at best absurd. A common oaken bucket, nothing more than a simple tool, has been stolen from the town well of Bologna by Modenese raiders. And in the eyes of your leaders, this theft is not a minor offense, but an act of such dishonor that it has led to a declaration of war. You cannot help but feel a sense of confusion as you march. You don't know the men who took the bucket, nor do you understand why this has become a cause for bloodshed. Yet here you are, moving steadily toward Modena, your crossbow slung over your shoulder. Your job is simple. When the battle begins, you will stand with the rest of your comrades and fire your crossbow from a distance. But today, the sheer pointlessness of it all weighs heavily on you. You imagine that the soldiers around you feel the same. They march with the same confusion, the same discomfort, the same questions on their minds. Why fight for a bucket? Why risk your life for something so trivial? Yet none of you can turn back now. The honor of Bologna is at stake, and once a war is declared, there is no turning back. You think back to the simpler days of your life in Bologna, the rhythmic sounds of the market, the steady flow of water from the town well. Life wasn't easy, but it was predictable. But now here you are, far from home, preparing to risk everything for something as insignificant as a bucket. The weight of your armor, the discomfort of your feet, it all feels so trivial now, a reminder of how absurd this whole situation truly is. Still you march on. The hum of the soldiers around you is constant, the occasional murmur of voices mixing with the sound of boots against the earth. You know that in the end the war is about much more than a bucket. It is about pride. It is about proving your city's honor. But as you march forward, it is hard to imagine how any object, could be worth all that is at stake. The enemy waits in Modena, and as you approach the battlefield, you can already hear the distant clash of swords and shields. The battlefield ahead is filled with knights, foot soldiers, and the distant hum of battle preparations. You, a lowly crossbowman, are just one small part of this chaotic puzzle. And yet you cannot help but wonder, how did it all come to this? How did a simple theft escalate into a full-scale war? As you raise your crossbow, steady your breath, and prepare for the coming battle, you realize the weight of history that you carry. Not because you are fighting for a noble cause, but because you are part of a ridiculous conflict that may one day be remembered not for its glory but for its absurdity. Or, the sun is low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the battlefield of Zappolino. The tension is palpable, hanging in the air like a thick fog. The armies of Bologna and Modena face each other, tens of thousands of men drawn up in battle lines. Their purpose is clear, though in truth it is not the bucket that drives them anymore. No, it is the pride of two cities, the weight of politics and the very nature of honor itself. You, a simple crossbowman, stand in the rear of the army, watching as the chaos unfolds before you. The weight of your armor feels heavier now, the leather restricting your movement. You have been trained for this, but in this moment you can feel the absurdity of the situation creeping into your mind. The battlefield before you is not one of noble warriors fighting for some grand ideal. It is one where soldiers fight and die for a symbol, for an object that should have never mattered. The battlefield is alive with noise, the pounding of hooves as knights on horseback charge into the fray, the clash of swords and shields, the cries of men locked in close combat. The Modenese cavalry is charging forward, their lances aimed at your lines, eager to prove their city's superiority. The sight is daunting, their numbers overwhelming. The ground beneath your boots shakes with the force of the collision. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, dust, and the unmistakable odor of fear. As a crossbowman, you are not expected to charge into battle with the knights, nor to engage in the brutal melee of the infantry. Instead, you stand behind the lines, your task to provide support with your crossbow from a distance. The strings of your weapon feel familiar in your hands, but today they carry a weight unlike any other. The sound of men shouting, the heavy thuds of bodies hitting the earth, the clang of metal on metal, it all becomes a blur as you wind your weapon and fire, one bolt after another. It is methodical, a rhythm you know well. But even in this, you are not safe. The battlefield is a chaotic place, where the line between life and death can be as thin as the edge of a sword. You must remain vigilant, ever aware of the shifting tide of the battle. The Modenese cavalry has broken through the first line of infantry, and the knights ride deep into Bologna's ranks, scattering soldiers with the force of their charge. The sounds of men dying, of horses neighing in agony, fill the air as you steady your crossbow once more, each shot a small but vital piece of the larger puzzle. Amidst all the noise and fury, you can't help but think of the pointlessness of it all. This is not a war fought for survival, for land, or for freedom. It is a war fought for a bucket. Yet here you are, risking everything for an object that once belonged to your town's well. Your feet, sore and tired from the march, feel even heavier as you stand on the edge of this chaos, firing your crossbow while knights clash around you, their armored forms glinting in the fading light of the day. The battle rages for hours, the lines of men shifting back and forth, each side desperate for victory. By the time night falls, the cost is apparent. The ground is littered with the fallen, Bolognese and Modenese alike. The stench of blood mixes with the dust, and the silence of the battlefield is broken only by the cries of the wounded and the distant sounds of retreating soldiers. When the final tally is made, the loss is staggering: 2,000 men dead in a battle fought for a stolen bucket. The price of pride, of political rivalry, is steep. You stand there, amidst the carnage, unable to shake the feeling that this was all so pointless. The bucket, the symbol that sparked this violence, was returned to Modena, but the cost to human life was far greater than anyone could have imagined. As you march back to Bologna, your crossbow now heavy with the weight of the day's events, you reflect on the absurdity of it all. The men who fought beside you, the comrades you shared the battlefield with, are gone now. The future of the city is uncertain, and yet in the end it all comes down to something so small, so insignificant: a bucket. And yet, despite the bloodshed, despite the absurdity, history will remember this battle, not for its noble cause, but for the tragic cost of pride. As time marches forward, and the echo of the battle fades into the annals of history, one object remains, its significance far outlasting the violence and bloodshed of the War of the Oaken Bucket. The wooden bucket, now a relic of a time long past, stands in a tower in Modena, a silent witness to the absurdity of the conflict it ignited. Though the world around it has changed, the bucket has become a symbol of something much larger than itself, a symbol of civic pride, of memory, and of the complex ways in which history is shaped by even the most trivial of events. Imagine yourself standing in Modena today, in the shadow of the tower that houses this once ordinary object. The stone walls of the tower are cool and weathered by centuries of history, and the air inside carries the faint smell of aged wood and time. Visitors gather quietly, their footsteps soft on the stone floor, as they gaze upon the bucket. It is not much to look at, worn with age-darkened wood and frayed edges, but to the people of Modena, it is a piece of their identity, a reminder of a past that, though strange, shaped the course of their history. The bucket is displayed in a place of reverence, encased behind glass for all to see. It may appear simple to an outsider, but for the citizens of Modena, it is a cherished symbol of their victory, of their city's honor. For centuries, the story of the stolen bucket has been passed down through generations, its legacy intertwined with the pride of the Modenese people. It represents more than just the object itself. It represents their resilience, their ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, even if that adversity was sparked by something so trivial. As you stand before the bucket, you can't help but feel the weight of history. The quiet reverence with which it is treated speaks to the lasting impact of the war, not in terms of the death and destruction, but in the way that symbols endure. This simple wooden object has transcended its original purpose. It was once a humble vessel used for carrying water, but now it is a vessel of memory, a reminder of a time when pride and political rivalry led to violence, and yet, in the end, it was the memory of that violence that has survived. The preservation of the bucket is not just an act of nostalgia, it is a statement of civic identity. For the people of Modena, the bucket is more than just a symbol of victory. It is a way of anchoring themselves to their past, a way of remembering who they were, and perhaps in some sense a way of defining who they are. It is a tangible connection to a time when their city fought, not for land or resources, but for the preservation of their honor, a battle that, in hindsight, seems almost laughable, but one that still defines the spirit of the place. Over the years, the bucket has become something of a cultural artifact, woven into the fabric of Modenese life. It has been studied by historians, admired by visitors, and even revered by locals. It has inspired songs, poems, and countless retellings of the war that sparked its journey to fame. Though the war itself is a distant memory, the bucket continues to evoke strong emotions, reminding the people of Modena of the sacrifices made, the lives lost, and the ultimate absurdity of it all. As you leave the tower, stepping back out into the bustling streets of Modena, you feel the contrast between the peaceful present and the violent past. The city has changed over the centuries, its buildings modern and its streets filled with life, yet the memory of the bucket and the war it represents still lingers in the air, a subtle presence that shapes the city's identity. It is a reminder that history, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, has a way of leaving its mark, sometimes in the most unexpected of ways. The bucket, once a simple object of daily life, has become a symbol not just of war, but of memory, pride, and the lasting impact of even the most trivial of conflicts. Its journey from the town well of Bologna to the Tower of Modena is a testament to the ways in which history is shaped not by the grand events alone, but by the small, sometimes absurd moments that resonate across time. While the common soldiers fought in the bloody fields of Zappolino, far removed from the clash of swords and the cries of battle, a different kind of war was being waged within the grand halls and marble corridors of Bologna and Modena's ruling elite. This war, though less bloody, was no less brutal. It was a world of whispered intrigues, political marriages, and the kind of scheming that defined the lives of the nobility in medieval Italy. Imagine yourself for a moment, not as a common soldier, but as a nobleman of Bologna. The air in your grand estate is rich with the scent of incense and roasted meats, the echo of laughter and conversation filling the opulent halls. You sit at a long polished table, surrounded by fellow nobles, men and women draped in silks and fine furs, their lives a far cry from the mud and blood of the battlefield. Your hands, adorned with rings and carefully manicured, hold a goblet of wine, a deep red liquid swirling as you listen to the latest news from the front lines. The war over the Oaken Bucket is far from trivial for you. To the common soldier, it might seem absurd. This fight for a stolen object, this senseless loss of life. But to you, a noble, it is not just about the bucket. It is about power, about asserting dominance in a land where every city-state is constantly vying for influence. The war, as you well know, is a way to show the strength of Bologna, to demonstrate its place in the delicate balance of power that governs the Italian peninsula. You think of the Modenese, your rivals, who, like you, are entrenched in the complex web of medieval politics. For them, the war over the bucket is not about the object itself. It is about standing up to Bologna, about proving their city's worth. It is about pride, a commodity just as valuable as gold or land in the world of the nobility. And for you too, pride is something to be protected at all costs. In the high society of Bologna, life is a constant balancing act. Behind the gilded walls of the noble houses, alliances are forged and broken with the same ease as the turning of a page. Marriages are arranged not for love, but for power, for land, for influence. The very fabric of society is built on these quiet alliances, these moments of treachery and trust. Your family, one of the oldest and most respected in Bologna, understands this better than most. Every decision is made with the knowledge that it could shift the balance of power, that today's ally could become tomorrow's enemy. As you sip your wine, you think of the political marriages that bind you to others, families who on the surface seem like friends, but who beneath their silken robes are just as ready to betray you as you are to betray them. Each smile hides a calculated move, each gesture a carefully orchestrated performance. In a world where power is everything, trust is a luxury few can afford. Beyond the walls of your estate, the political climate of Italy is as volatile as ever. The Pope, ever the powerful figure in this time, plays his own game of manipulation, using the various city-states like pieces on a chessboard. And the Holy Roman Emperor, a figure who looms large in the history of the time, seeks to consolidate his power over the Italian territories, his ambitions stretching far beyond the borders of Modena and Bologna. You, as a nobleman, know that this is the true cost of the War of the Oaken Bucket. It was not fought for an object. It was fought to protect your place in the intricate dance of Italian politics, where power is constantly shifting and where the stakes are as high as they come. In this world, the loss of a bucket is just the beginning. It is the prelude to a greater struggle for dominance, for the preservation of the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that hold the Italian peninsula together. As you sit in your estate, far from the battlefields, you feel the weight of your position. The war has taken its toll on both sides, lives lost, cities scarred, and reputations forever changed. And yet, as the dust settles, it is the nobles like you who will carry the true legacy of the war. The bucket, a symbol of pride and honor, will be remembered, but so will the political games, the quiet betrayals, and the shifting allegiances that defined the lives of those who held power. The War of the Oaken Bucket may have been fought for an absurd reason, but for you, a noble of Bologna, it was no less significant than any other war. For in the end, history remembers not just the bloodshed, but the political maneuvering, the quiet games of power that shape the course of nations. As we draw our journey through this strange chapter of history to a close, it is perhaps worth reflecting on the forces that shape the world we live in. The War of the Oaken Bucket, though seemingly absurd in its origins, reveals something universal, the complexities of human pride, the thirst for power, and the way in which even the smallest of events can ripple through time, leaving their mark on history. The soldiers who fought and died on the battlefield, the nobles who plotted in the shadows, and the citizens who remember the tale of the bucket. They all played their part in shaping the world of medieval Italy. And while the conflict may have been sparked by something as trivial as a stolen object, it serves as a reminder of the intricate web of pride, politics, and history that binds us all. As we close the chapter on this bizarre and fascinating tale, let us take a moment to reflect on the passage of time, the way that history, no matter how small or strange, endures in our collective memory. The War of the Oaken Bucket may have been fought for a silly cause, but it has shaped the cities of Bologna and Modena and the lives of those who lived through it in ways that continue to echo through the ages. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the peaceful rhythm of history's many curious tales.